It's time for CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. Find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, YouTube, and TuneIn. The easiest thing to do is tell Alexa or Siri to play CBJ in 30. Here's your host, Bob McElligott.
It's funny in life that sometimes we forget just how quickly things can change. Actually, this week it's not funny, it's ironic. And boy, have things changed since you and I last sat down and had a Monday mailbag session here on CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. Last week at this time, the Blue Jackets were in the midst of the final stretch of games. They were hoping to get some wins, pick up points, not only stay in the playoff picture, but climb in the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference and in the Metropolitan Division. They had a big game looming against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday night. We talked about that. We talked about the Western Canadian road trip. Talked about the Blue Jackets getting three out of a possible 6 points there. How things looked up after the win in Vancouver. And then all of a sudden, first it was slowly, and then it was really quickly. The bottom fell out of all of it. This week has been surreal for me, and I'm sure that it has been surreal for you too. And not just in the hockey sense, but in the life sense. Life has changed so dramatically from last week to this week. It's almost like we're not in the same place, but we are. It's almost like we're not doing the same things, but we're trying to. And right now, when it comes to the world of the National Hockey League, all we can do is sit and wait, because there are many questions and there are few answers. Those answers are coming slowly. Some answers are going to come very slowly. Some questions you're going to ask me today, I don't have the answers to. But the answers will be coming. The questions are many, the answers are few. But we have to wait, and we have to be patient. Boy, I'll tell you, after only a couple of days of this, it's not easy to be patient. I'm sure you feel the same way. It is not easy, but that's what we have to do. We have to be patient, we have to be diligent, and we have to get through this thing. And we will. I have no doubt that we'll get through this. Is it going to be as quickly as you would like or I would like? Probably not. But we will get through it. And that's what the focus has to be at the end of the day. Again, it is easier said than done. I mean, I'm talking the talk, and it's hard to walk the walk. But that's the way it is. And I'm glad that I can get with you today and try to take your mind off it a little bit. I'd like you to take my mind off it a little bit, because I think that's where we are right now. We need a release. We need an outlet. We need to talk about the things that we like to talk about. We need to hold that hope for when those things are going to come back. We don't know when it is, but we know that it will. Eventually, it will. You know, they say the sun always rises. Well, this sun is going to be slow in coming up, talking about the return to the league, but eventually it is going to happen. But right now, let me tell you about Telhio Credit Union. You know, I do this all the time, and I tell you about the great features that they have, and, you know, the different services that they can offer you. This is one of those times. I mean, when we're in a situation like this, I think people have been thinking more about their money here lately, especially in the past week, watching what's going on with the stock market, you know, wondering what's ultimately going to go on with the economy, all of those things. It makes you more aware. And this is where maybe you want to take a look and see if you're doing the right thing with your money, if you have it in the right place, if you're getting the biggest bang for your buck, as the saying goes. So I invite you to go to telhio.org and look around their website. And I know it's, you know, there's so many high priority things right now, but that's a big priority thing, to make sure you're doing what is right for you and for your family and for your finances. And you can still do that by going online at any time of the day or the night. And you can see all of the different services that Telhio Credit Union provides. You can see the different perks that they have that you might not be able to get somewhere else. And that information is right there for you. And if you can't find what you're looking for there, they do have the live chat option that you can click on the screen. I always tell you to stop by one of their offices. Right now is the time where people aren't going out as much as as we normally do. If you are out and if you stop by and if they are open, they would be very happy to talk to you, I'm sure. But that website, tellhio.org, probably right now is where you want to go and get your information and find out as much as you can. And you can give them a call, too. You can always give them a call. Tell Ohio Credit Union is open to everyone in central and southwestern Ohio, and they are federally insured by NCUA. This is weird for me. It really is. It's to do a show in these kind of times. And I told you, I want a relief, you want a relief, and I'll give that to you here in just a second. I was doing an interview with our network station up in Lima the other day, and Marty Bannister, who was hosting that show, said to me, I don't know where you were on 9/11, but, this is similar in ways. And, yeah, at 9/11, most of you know, I was at my in-laws. I was a mile away from where United Flight 93 crashed, shook the house when it did, and that was a surreal week. That was a week where I was attending FBI press conferences every day at 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon and sending reports back to our station in Syracuse where I was working at the time. But this is even more different. And, I mean, if you've gone to the grocery store in the last couple of days, you know what I mean. At times, depending upon when you go in there, it's like you're living in a movie. And not one of those happy-go-lucky movies either. So, strange times. So let's change the mood. Let's change everything here by getting to your questions. I have some voice questions. I have some Twitter questions. I'm going to start with the Twitter questions today. My Twitter account, of course, is at BobbyMacSports. And Justin Needham gets the lead off today because Justin has a very simple and poignant question. How are you and your family? And that's the question for everybody. That's my question for you, too. I'll answer the question, Justin, which I appreciate you asking. We're fine, except we're 4 people in a house where we're normally not all together for this long period of time. There's a lot of activities between my job and my son's sports, and we're always running and going to a practice or a game or whatever it is, and that's all ground to a halt. So that's different. We're learning to coexist with one another for long periods of time once again. And in many ways, that's good. In many ways, it's good. You don't get to spend much time at home. I don't at this time of the year. And then you want to make the playoffs and you want to keep working even more and all of those things. My kids are actually upset that they're not going to school. And they're very worried that the school year is going to get canceled and they won't go back again. I don't even know who they are. They're both complaining about not going to school. Every other day they complain about going to school. But that's a concern that they have. And my oldest, who you're going to hear from here in just a little bit, he's very concerned because he's a high school senior. And the baseball season just got interrupted. They've been practicing for weeks every day. Now the games are in jeopardy. They can't practice. They can't play. They don't know if they're going to be able to. And it's the last year of high school. I mean, it's your senior year. It's your the big hurrah for you to go out as an athlete and as a student. And they might not get to do that. And it's very, it's sad. And again, it's the unknown. You don't know if they will or they won't. But so that's caused a lot of angst here in the last couple of days, as you can imagine. But all in all, we're good, trying to find ways to pass the time. And there's plenty of stuff to do around the house. And, that's probably where it's going to go when it's all said and done. And then see if I can get my 2 teenage boys to help out. Well, I've got to make them help out. So that'll be for some great turbulent times coming up around here in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. What else do I want to go to from Twitter right now? Jeremy G., do you have any shows or movies that you plan on catching up on with the extra time? On Saturday, it was Saturday, I haven't watched the movie channels I have on my cable system forever. And I turned them on the other day and just let like 3 movies in a row run. And, some were in and out of them. I was there pretty much the whole time because I don't know. I didn't want to get into any projects at the time, but not so much specifically. There are a couple of shows that we watch as a family. We've watched that Good Doctor show, been able to catch up on the last couple of nights, but Nothing specific, always looking. So if you have any suggestions, you can go ahead and pass those along to me. All right, there's a couple of Twitter questions. I'll get back to those in just a bit. Right now, I want to bring you our first voice question.
Hi, Bob. Trevor in Newark here. I was wondering what your thoughts were on the NHL potentially resuming the season later on, playing out the playoffs, and then having a shortened season the following year, like they had during the lockout shortened season a few years back. Do you think that this would be a preferable option to just canceling this whole season and starting anew next year? Or do you think it would be better for the league to finish out this year with what they're able to do and then give the players a full off season and start the following season about a month or so later on? Look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Well, Trevor, thanks for the question. I think that the league's preference is to find a way to finish this season. Will they be able to do that or won't they is the real question. You probably know by now that last evening the Center for Disease Control came out and recommended that there be no large events and mass gatherings for the next 8 weeks. The fact is that if you go 8 weeks out, you're looking at the second week of May. Looking at, May the 10th, let's say. So that's a long time into what would be the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, they have talked about, being open to anything when it comes to the playoffs and not doing them in a normal fashion, doing them some other way. But if that date or if that time span of 8 weeks stays intact, that is going to make for some really interesting and serious decisions amongst the NBA, the NHL. I mean, everybody's in the same boat here, right? Major League Baseball, are they not going to start until the middle of May or till the end of May? So, again, this is one of those things that we don't know. That information just came out last night. Would there be a way to have a form of playoffs and not go too deep into the summer? You can't end and then start training camp the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks later. I don't think you can do that. So what can you do if that date stays intact? And again, these are all things we don't know. We have no idea. We just have to get more clarity on this as it goes along. And again, it's just a whole bunch of I don't knows. So it's a wait and see attitude. It stinks that that's the answer, but unfortunately that at this point is the only answer. Let's move on to another question here.
This is Cindy in Akron for Monday Mailbag. My question, of course, is not going to be hockey related because, what is one fun thing that you and or your family are going to do during this break in hockey? We now return you to the Mailbag Monday edition of CBJ and 30, right here on CBJ Radio.
Well, the fact of the matter is we don't have anything fun planned because this wasn't a time that was supposed to be downtime. Normally, if I had time off here, my fun thing would be to go watch my son play baseball, and I can't do that. So we might get to the point, it was talked about yesterday, maybe it's board games or something like that. Whatever it takes to kind of break the monotony of, just being around and not knowing what to do with yourself. So I don't have anything fun planned. It's, as the sun comes out, if it gets warmer, go outside, ride bikes, try to do something like that. But, there won't be any trips. You're not going to go anywhere. And you just have to, it's kind of like the old days, right? You got to figure out a way to entertain yourself. So I haven't come to the conclusion as to how that's going to come down yet. It's only been a couple of days, but thanks for the question. All right, one more voice question for you here.
Hi, Mr. McElligott. This is Adam calling from Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. I've been a fan of the Blue Jackets for the last 2 years. I've really been a hockey fan for the last 2 years. And I've caught almost every game through the El Dorado Gaming Scioto Downs Blue Jackets radio network. I listen to you a lot, and it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for being so enthusiastic and so passionate about what you do. I'm wondering if you could tell us about your experience becoming a hockey fan, if you grew up in it, if you found hockey later on, and how you became involved with the Blue Jackets, and really just why you love your job. It sounds like you do. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Thanks for considering, and thanks for answering.
Well, Adam, thanks for checking in from the Little Apple here today. The way I got involved in hockey is, don't hold this against me, but I was born in Pittsburgh, and growing up, there were only 3 teams that existed as far as I was concerned, and that was the Pirates, the Steelers, and the Penguins. That was it. That's the way I was raised. My dad, being from Pittsburgh, was just a big Pittsburgh fan. When I was 1, my parents moved about an hour and a half east of the city up into the mountains. So, I grew up being a fan. We didn't go to many hockey games when I was growing up. We'd usually go to maybe one a year. The most we went to was baseball games, and that's why I was really a baseball guy, and I played baseball and wanted to be a Major League Baseball announcer once I knew I wasn't good enough to play baseball in the major leagues. So, I was always familiar with hockey, and when the Penguins made their Stanley Cup runs in the early 90s, in 1991, 1992, it really became a big thing. There weren't a lot of rinks that were around that area at the time. I mean, there were some rinks when the Penguins won their first 2 Stanley Cups, but after they won those first 2, then it just exploded. And then everybody was a hockey fan, and everybody wanted to play hockey, and all of that. So it became very, very popular. My first job was in hockey. My first sports job was in hockey, as I was a mascot for the team in Johnstown in the East Coast Hockey League. And I was doing that, and then I got into minor league baseball play-by-play, and eventually I went back to that team, and I did a little bit of radio. I did some color and on road games. I was a mascot at the home games. I did color on the road games. And then a couple of years after that, the radio position opened there, and I went and became the broadcaster for that same team. After a couple of years there, I wound up in Syracuse, and my timing couldn't have been better because I got there in the 1999-2000 season, and it was already announced that the Blue Jackets would be the affiliate in the 2000-2001 season. They would be the first American Hockey League affiliate of the Syracuse Crunch. So I was there when that transition took place. My first year, we were affiliated with Vancouver. Then the second year, Columbus came in. So I had worked with Jody Shelley when he was playing in Johnstown, when he was with the Calgary Flames organization at the time. I was broadcasting when Jody played in Johnstown. Then Jody came to Syracuse. We, worked together there, and here we work together some 20-plus years later, both as broadcasters. But, again, it was right place, right time with Columbus coming in, and I was in Syracuse and had relationships with the people with the Blue Jackets. I'd seen many players go back and forth between the American Hockey League and the National Hockey League. So that's how I got involved. But to take it a step further, when I decided that I was more of a hockey guy than I was a baseball guy, it's really just the and this is kind of what you alluded to, and thank you for the compliment earlier. This is more to my personality. The hockey is more to my personality. It's fast. It's not as rough as it used to be, but it's just that passion. It's lay it all out there for 2 hours and 38 minutes and see what happens when that time is over. Baseball is much more of a slower paced game, obviously. I love the game, and I love the strategy that goes on in baseball. It just goes on at a much slower pace. But just the passion of this game and the quickness, all of that is what really attracted me to it. When I started broadcasting it, I was like, this is for me. I think this is exactly where I need to be. And so that's how I became to be a hockey broadcaster. And because I would tell people for years, they would say, which one do you like better? And I'd say the first one that gets me to the big leagues. And even though hockey it's the better one. I mean, with this, what's going on right now set aside, you work all winter and you have your time off in the summer instead of working all summer and having your time off in the winter, right? So that was appealing, but it's the game. It's the game and the people. It really is. And I know you said you've been a fan for the last couple of years, and thanks for allowing me to bring the game to you. I really appreciate that you tune in as much as you do, and I love to bring it to you. And I'm glad you feel the passion, because to me, that's what it is. I mean, I want the Blue Jackets to win. You want the Blue Jackets to win. I'm going to tell you how it is, and we're all going to have a good time when it's all said and done. So this fits me, and I'm glad that you think that it fits me. That means a lot to me. All right, let's go back to Twitter at Bobby Mac Sports, and I'm going to bring my son in to help me on this one because I've got this question from H. Roll. And here's the question. Are hockey sticks like baseball bats? Do players customize it to their height, the way that they shoot, or what position they play, or things like that? I know that players cut and tape their sticks a certain way, but can the blade and the actual stick be different from player to player? I bring in my 18-year-old son, Matthew, who just finished his own high school hockey career. This is something that's right up his alley. So you heard the question. What's your answer?
Every stick's going to be a little different. Certain players like a little more of a whippier stick. Their flex goes by how much they weigh, so usually it's about half of their body weight, depending on what type of player you are. If you're more of a defenseman, they probably won't have as much of a flexible stick as a sniper would. Lie's a big part in it too, just the way you skate, if it's up and down, or if you skate up and down, or if you're skating more down towards the ice, the lie will be greater or lower depending on how you skate. Height, that's all personal preference. Some players like a shorter stick so they can stick handle more towards their feet and get pucks in close areas, keep the puck close to them. Others, again, like a defenseman, might want a longer stick to be able to make those poke checks, or maybe you're a forward that's just better with a longer stick. It's just all personal preference. Curves are the same thing. Most stock curves that you'll find in the store are based somewhat off of a real curve. So like a Crosby curve at a hockey store is not Crosby's actual curve, but they'll just name it after the player and it'll be similar to his. But it just all depends on the way you like your curve, whether it's heel curve, toe curve, mid. It's all just open to the player, and they always get to choose, and it's something you won't really get to find at a retail level.
One of the more famous sticks in recent Blue Jackets history was Brandon's sod stick, which was almost a flat stick, but not quite. Tell me about that.
That's just the way he probably grew up. He probably played with more of a different curve when he was little, and as he got older, he realized more of what type of curve he wanted, and he liked it flatter. And it's better for deflections maybe, and if he's better on his backhand with it, if he's like shooting on his backhand more, then that'll help him there, rather than having like a big banana hook like Ovechkin. And Ovechkin's always shooting those one-timers on the power play, and he likes to really elevate that puck. So it just all depends from player to player. Ryan O'Reilly just has a little hook on his toe. There's really no right or wrong way. It's all personal preference. You can do square toe, rounded toes, and it's the same with goalies, and it's the same with every other player on the ice.
Now, Alexander Wenberg has found success with a white stick, and he has been all about the white stick. When it comes to colors, Marty St. Louis, when he played, used to play with a yellow stick, and it was just so his kids could recognize him immediately on the ice if they were watching the game on TV. How much does a color have to go in? Is that just all kind of a mental thing?
Yeah, it's more of a mental thing. The question talked about baseball bats. It's kind of like that, where you can just kind of pick and choose. Again, that's more of a pro-exclusive level thing, where you can't really get that option if you walk into a hockey store. There'll be some different options, but again, like Wenberg likes the white stick, so his manufacturer, Warrior, will probably make him a white stick if he requests so. Other than that, usually they're black, and then they'll have different colors. I know Bauer does different colors based on what model of the line of the stick it is. So if it's a Vapor, usually it's red, a Supreme's yellow, Nexus is blue, and then CCM's kind of the same way. They're more red, yellow, green, depending on what type of stick theirs is. I don't know how Warrior necessarily does that, but yeah, every stick will usually be one color based on what line it is, what make and model it is. But again, pro treatment, they can do whatever they want.
Now, you know all of this stuff just by a little bit of research, but what you really research is goalie sticks and goalie equipment. And let me ask you, You got a guy like Jonas Corposalo, who's a standard, go behind the net, stop the puck, don't play it very often. You have an Elvis Merzlikins, who is a all-out, active, play-the-puck kind of guy. Do they use the same kind of sticks?
Well, that's all just depends on what they're comfortable with. They both use a Bauer Supreme. It also depends on if it's the 2S is the newest model, and they're about to go to the ultrasonic. I believe Merzlikins is moving into the ultrasonic, if I'm not mistaken, but he was probably in a 2S. The thing is with the goalie sticks, and with any stick, they can take an older model, and the words dress, they dress it like a newer model. So if Nick Foligno, for example, wanted to use an older Bauer model, but they wanted to make it look like the newest one to get people on TV to recognize, oh, Nick Foligno is using the newest Bauer stick, so they'll take his old stick and they'll dress it to look like the newest stick, and they do that a lot with goalie sticks. Frederick Anderson did that a lot. He used to use an NXG Bauer stick that they dressed as a 1S and then a 2S just to make it look like the newest model. So it's more of a marketing tactic. I believe Corposalo is in either 1S or 2S. And then the thing with the goalie sticks with that too is Carey Price will cut his stick down. He's a big puck handler. It looks like Corposalo and Merzlikins keep theirs around the same. Can't necessarily say anything about that. Don't know too much on that. But like Carey Price has been notorious for doing like a defenseman tape job on his stick where he doesn't have a big knob like Braden Holtby because he likes to grip and shoot the puck. So he'll cut his stick down so he can play the puck in his skates. And Garrett Sparks is another guy who has a weird quirk with his stick because his blade is made such so as he goes into the boards to play the puck, there's a little notch in his stick that eliminates stick from getting caught in the boards. It's a little different that you don't see every day. And then just the way you're supposed to hold the goalie stick. I know Curtis Sanford, former Blue Jacket, used to have a little notch he cut out on his stick so he could grip it, and it was better. So when he put his paddle down on the ice, he didn't get those blood blisters on his fingers from slamming that paddle down on his finger. It's all, again, personal preference. Lundqvist cuts his stick in half about and then grips it, for a lack of a better term. He'll take the shaft of his stick and then they move it towards one end of the paddle, towards the opposite end of the paddle, which is unique. It's all just whatever is comfortable for the player, and there's been a bunch of different ways that people have come up with when it's come to shaving paddle sizes, and people are trending down in paddle sizes. Like Robin Leonard uses a 23 paddle, and the NHL legal limit's a 28, and so a lot of those taller guys would usually be using a 28. Now everything's starting to go down in size, figuring it's easier to move. Smaller the better, where that trend used to be bigger the better, bigger pads, bigger chesties, bigger sticks, stop more room. Now it's, hey, let's be more mobile with our movements. Let's be more mobile in any way. So they're cutting down on size and pants, and now it's getting into people are getting their leg pads shorter. Even though they're allowed to have one size, they'll go a little smaller, and it's just the trend, I guess.
Now, to take the question full circle, is it started off saying, are hockey sticks like baseball bats? And you play baseball as well. So I know that most of the baseball bats you use are aluminum bats. They're not wooden bats, but you've used the wooden bats, and you know about that too. So how would it compare? Can you customize a baseball bat nearly the same way you can customize a hockey stick?
In certain regards, I would say yes. Just like thickness of handles and how you want it. I know something kind of going a little far in the MLB, like trending wise, is they're using axe handles. They're also using where there is no handle on the bat anymore. It's just kind of like a broomstick almost at the end, where it's just better for the way you're following through and grip and everything. So in a way, yes, but also there isn't as much to a baseball bat when it comes to like we say, curves and everything. Like you can pick pretty much all barrel sizes are the same. The colors you can pick in hockey sticks and in baseball bats. But like baseball bats don't have a flex and all that. So I'd say you have a little bit more of an option hockey rather than baseball.
Wasn't that terrific? That was absolutely spot on. Matthew, thank you so very much. You see, sometimes the experts are always in your midst. You just have to know how to identify them and bring them to the people. Speaking of bringing it to the people, I know there are questions that I didn't get to today. I ask you to be patient with me. I can save those for a future show because I don't know when we're going to get back to actually talking about games and points and playoffs and all that stuff. So I'm going to hold on to those questions, and we'll get to them as we go along here in the next week or so, or however long it takes. But I do want to also tell you this, that all of those questions that we all have, answers will start to come. And maybe it'll be quickly, maybe it'll be slowly, maybe it'll be tomorrow, maybe it'll be today, maybe it'll be next week. I don't know. But I do know that all you need to do to find out is keep an eye at BlueJackets.com, the Blue Jackets official website, because when decisions are made, that's where the information will be for you. Also, follow the Blue Jackets on Twitter to get some more instantaneous information sent your way. So again, thanks for being here today. Thanks for asking the questions that you did. Thanks for kind of lightening the mood a little bit after what has been kind of a scary and could be depressing type weekend that we've all just gone through. It's good to talk about the game again, and we just wait for it to come back and the players to get back on the ice. We don't know when that's going to be, but we do know it's going to happen. That's going to do it for today's Monday Mailbag edition of CBJ in 30, presented by Tel Ohio Credit Union. I'm Bob McElligott saying so long.